Hi, Julie Jones from SSB Performance, Smarter, Stronger, Better Mindset Training, here with this week's Mindset Made Simple Tip of the Week, brought to you by Game Day Sportswear. This week we're talking about a simple 4-step process to help enhance gratitude and empower those that you lead. And as we look forward to family and food and football and Thanksgiving, and our regularly scheduled programming is slightly disrupted, I started to think, of course, about gratitude. And most of the things that you'll read this week have to do with gratitude, which is awesome. So I thought, well, how can I add to the gratitude a little bit? So it threw me back to a practice we used when I was coaching at the end of our training sessions. And we did 4 things. We talked about 4 things at the end of every day. We started with the quote of the day. I would send out the practice plan. On the bottom of it would be the quote of the day. Their job was to memorize it. The quote always had something to do with something we were dealing with, to give us a different perspective on something. It had something to do with a current event, but the quote always was related to what was going on with the team. So as an opportunity to put good thoughts in, it was the athlete's job to memorize the quote, and then either as an individual or even as a group of sophomores, freshmen, whatever, they had to recite the quote at the end of practice, and then we talked about how it impacted the world around us or us as individuals. So that was number 1. That was always fun. We then got a little bit more boost out of it. Someone put it on Twitter, and then we would, carry that on, and just something to think about as we approached the rest of our day, or as we approached the weekend or whatever was coming. The second step had to do with gratitude. We asked the simple question, and it could have been to anybody, so it forced everybody to be looking for good stuff. We asked the question, what are you grateful for today? And as we know, as Joe Miller, the author Joe Miller reminds us, one of the best ways to build a strong team is to have gratitude. Gratitude enhances our lives in so many ways. It improves our physical and our mental well-being. It makes us more resilient. It makes us more optimistic. It helps us build better relationships. Everything that we need to be a better team. Who wouldn't want that? So asking that simple question of what are you grateful for today after practice forces everyone on the team to look for the good things in their life. And then they hear the good stuff, and we pull that in and say, yeah, I'm grateful for that as well. And others, usually we would ask 1 or 2 people, and other people would chime in. This is what I'm grateful for today. I am so grateful for. Enter serotonin. Enter dopamine. Enter good stuff that makes us feel good and sends us to the next part of our day looking for good. We know that we're not wired that way by nature. So when we are asked these questions, our brain starts to search for it. And in fact, we're searching for it through the whole day, knowing that, hey, coach might call me, I better have something good. So that's step number 2. Step number 3, observe and then acknowledge the things that your teammates are doing well. What does this do? Number 1, it takes us out of that, what psychologists call phenomenon of having this imaginary audience. The audience that we think where everyone's looking at us and everybody is just waiting with bated breath to see what we're going to do. This is like our natural tendency. And as my dad told me years ago, hey Joel, people are not thinking about you nearly as much as you think they are because they're too busy worried about themselves. I have gone back to that statement a million times in my life, and I have shared it with hundreds of people to remind everyone that looking outside ourselves is so important to learn, to grow, and to make other people feel good. So get out of your own head and look to see what somebody else is doing. I have to add in one little other tidbit that my dad said that I've said a million times too. So they're not thinking about you nearly as much as you think they are, and the ass you're kicking today might be the one you're kissing tomorrow. That was always a good one too. Not really related to this, but had to throw that in there. Thanks, Dad. I did listen when you talked, and I still do, most of the time. But the bottom line is this, is that when we are looking outside of ourselves, you can call it out, observe your teammates, we are enhancing what they're doing by saying, hey man, you did a great job at that. They feel good. We feel good giving a compliment. We are noticing what other people are doing and not worrying as much about what we're doing. And we are building confidence in the whole group by pointing out the fact that, yeah, we're pretty good at that. I can count on you. And when I'm not so worried about myself, I can find all the things I can count on, and I can also find the places where I can slip in the things that I do well and make myself a more integral part of what's going on. I'm looking out and finding what my teammates are doing well. So that's number 3. Number 1, the quote. Number 2, what are you grateful for today? Number 3, what did your teammates do well? Tell them what they did and why it was so great. And then lastly, I had 2 reasons for this. Number 1, we want to be looking for good that we do. And number 2, we want to be building strong, successful young people to go out in the world and be able to show who they are without guilt. So the last one is this. What did you do well today? Instead of being Julie Jones, who Coach Marcy French told, you do some things 10 times, you do it wrong once, you're focusing on the 1, focus on the 9, remember the 9. When we do things, we have a tendency to pick ourselves apart. We will find the problem, and you know it, it's a negativity bias rearing its head again. When we look for something we're doing well, we then have the expectation that we're doing something well. We're going to do something well. We're taking note of the things that went well for us instead of taking note of the things that we struggled with. We are adding emotion to the things that we did well so that we remember those things and move toward them again. Because when we are frustrated or when we do something wrong, the emotion is strong. When we do something right, there's very little emotion with it normally in the midst of a practice or even in a game, unless we're that selfish player. But the truth of it is, if we want to contribute to the best of our ability, we have to be able to notice, repeat, articulate, and share the things that we do well. Think about it. Young women are not notoriously good at giving an account of what they do well. Men are better at giving a report. We are teaching young women, young people, adults, whoever it would be, to report the facts of what they're doing well. When they report the fact of what they did well, we are also getting another benefit out of it. We're getting a mental rep. We are saying what we did well. I talked with one of my gymnasts last night. What went well at practice this week? I got my double tuck, back, whatever. I'm not a gymnast. I don't know. I can't even touch my toes. But I know what she's talking about when she's talking. When she was telling me what she did well, she was explaining every detail of it, and she's making pictures in her head, so she's reliving the good. The added benefit is this. I say something I do well. I see my teammates say, yeah, you did do that well. And they add to it. So we are enhancing relationships. We are building our confidence. We are putting good things in front of our brain instead of all the bad things. Does that mean we don't look at what we did wrong? No, not suggesting that. What I'm suggesting is this, is that all of us can do a better job of confidently and humbly saying what we do well factually. Here's what I bring to the table. Offer it up to make the world a better place. Because if you don't offer up what you do well, you're going to end up with the scraps. Someone else is going to jump in front of the line, and they're going to take what you do well, and you're going to be struggling with what you don't do well. When we play to our strengths, everyone's better for it. So that's it. 4 steps. Simple. Doesn't take very long, but it builds communication. It builds confidence. The quote, what are we dealing with? This is what it looks like. The gratitude, oh so important. It's hard to be bitter and grateful at the same time. What are your teammates doing well? Show them, tell them, see them. I see you. What am I doing well? Hey you, I see you too. 4 simple steps to empower and to build a grateful environment. I am grateful for you for taking the time to watch, listen, or read. I am grateful for the comments that I get. I am most grateful for the continued impact that the leaders that I get to work with every day have on my life and the things that I get to learn from people like you. So keep the comments coming. Hit like, Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Have a wonderful week of Thanksgiving. Enjoy your families and your friends and your food and your football. And until next week, manage the moments.